All right, we're back. We're back for the break. So don't forget, like, subscribe, click that bell to be notified now.
Bing.
You know. So Mitchell.
Yes, sir.
Well, just try to pick up where we left off. You know, like people are really dying.
Well, they are, but we want to still talk about the contributing factors.
Okay.
Okay.
They are dying. Before we lead to that, we want to talk about the factors that lead to mental illness.
Okay.
Right.
Anxiety,
Yeah.
depression, you all hear about it.
Yeah.
Mood disorders, schizophrenia, which we sometimes haven't heard in a while, but all these are contributing factors, mental illness. So we want to remember that when you have contributing factors, mental illness, you will have situations where they want to mask it.
Right.
When we say mask it, what do? We want to put something on it to take it away.
Try to hide it.
Temporary fix. So
Right.
that's when we deal with illicit drugs. And we know about opioids.
Yeah.
Opioids is big out here.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And you got a fact from Cary, North Carolina.
Yeah.
What's going on in opioids in Cary?
But it's a high rate of people, overdosing in Cary, North Carolina from the opioids. Like you were just saying, like probably stealing them, but they kids though. They're probably taking them from their grandparents or something like that, and overdosing.
And what we don't know is last year, Graham,
Wow.
it was 72,000 people that died from opioids.
Wow.
This year
Wow.
Wow.
alone, 98,000
Wow.
Just this year.
just this year.
Do you think some of it has to do with I know we had a guest that came by the school to visit. The students were doing a school. Barbara came by. She did a school visit, and she mentioned how she noticed that there was people still suffering or still having effects of COVID.
Oh.
Like,
Okay.
do you think
I
COVID
agree.
might have helped kind of contribute to some of that too, like some of the mental? Because I know she said she had noticed that some of her customers were still dealing with COVID, and it was like kind of like, kind of like the customers were having a hard time communicating because they lost some communication skills,
Right.
due to being shut in and stuff like that. Just being, the anxiety of being around people again,
Right.
worried about people again. I would think some of that might contribute.
That's a good point. It's funny you say that. Not to cut you off.
Okay, that's fine.
Pre-pandemic is what you're talking about. The pre-pandemic, before COVID. And this was hard for me to understand, but they said it was not that much difference.
Wow.
They said it wasn't that much different.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, shoot, I know some people know, definitely, COVID was not, affected people differently, and I definitely give my condolences to people who have lost
Right.
someone during COVID.
Right.
But I know for me, COVID was, it was a blessing for me in the sense that it gave me opportunity to be a little close to my family and stuff. So
True.
I got more time to spend with family, even though the kids were wearing me to death, though.
Right.
But that's my mental health right there.
Yeah.
But just, I do know that it gave me time to be with some families. I think they were saying early on there was like relationships that was falling apart because some people weren't used to being around
each other all the time. Yeah.
So
That's right.
but yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
They said that so a true definition of mental health. I guess we're saying here the COVID situation has a mental health to it, but it's not like a true COVID, like the true mental health, like you're saying, like the statistics. So the numbers not changing.
The disheartening thing, like you was asking me before, what you asked me, people dying.
Yeah. People really dying from this.
Right. That's the disheartening thing about it because suicide is the number one leading cause of death. So they're definitely dying in enormous rates. 3 out of 10
Wow.
in 2019, which was 10 years ago, 1 out of 10 suicide. So mental health is strong.
Yeah.
I believe you have a small testimony.
Yeah. And as we know, we tell our students, and as barbers, we're not licensed, physicians and things of that nature. But why this topic again? If someone is asking, why are we even having this discussion? Like I said earlier before the break, I think it's extremely important for us because we don't know what people are dealing with when they come into the shops.
True that.
You know, you may have somebody that may be having a mental breakdown, and they can, shoot the shop up or something,
Right.
or they can, or they may just be having a particular bad day. We don't know. I know, and as we listening, as I'm listening to some of the, your statistics here, and as we have this discussion, it reminded me of a client just recently that that had a situation where they lost their child, and his son was 20, in his mid 20s, and it was interesting because I had to figure out. I was nervous. I probably was more nervous about servicing him because I didn't know how to have the. Or should I even have a conversation?
Right.
Or staying away from it, right? Or do I ignore it? And I'll come to find out, it turned out, I think he actually, was he led the conversation. I think he really wanted to talk about it. And one thing he said, make sure you tell your child you love them. You know what I'm saying? Because you just never, as a parent, you never could picture yourself going before your child. And so he was expressed to me, and I can actually tell physically that how he was saying that he hasn't been sleeping. And I would say the time he came to got a haircut was probably maybe a month after he had sent me, because he actually, which I was surprised, he actually included me on this chain of people he was like notifying that it was an unfortunate loss in his family. And so that was tough. Just even emotionally for me cutting his hair, it was like I wind up getting emotionally tied into it more than I thought, because by me being a parent, and as soon as he said like, oh, I wouldn't even imagine, I'm going before my child. You know what I'm saying? And he wasn't sleeping. He said him and his wife haven't been sleeping. He said the hardest thing was packing up his furniture, his clothes. Yeah. So you seeing, revisiting it. And I think, we all unfortunately have, might experience losing someone.
But I also feel that him just speaking about it is helping him.
Yeah.
Because like you keep stuff bottled up in you, that's when you explode, that it's ticking time bomb. But it was good that he's getting it out.
Right.
Was talking to, because maybe his wife needs to talk to somebody too, but it's hard, man.
That's kind of what that was the takeaway for me, that it looked like, it seemed like, at least I felt like I did my little part that give him an opportunity to be able to vent and share it. And and unfortunately, as long as we've been in it, unfortunately, I've experienced, have customers who have lost a parent and things like that, which so there's no one is no worse or whatever than the other. It was just the first time in my career that I experienced, at least someone that has told me, because that's another thing. I always like to challenge students, and even challenge barbers. How many of y'all probably think you might have known someone that might have wanted to kill themselves before they came? You may not even know. That's why it's important that we set our environment up to a person to come. Like I have this thing where I want customers to be able to leave whatever drama they got going on outside the shop. When they come in the shop. That's what I used to think. But actually, we need to be trying to make them feel better to go back out and not leave it at the door. Right. You know what I'm saying?
So,
getting that help.
So Mitchell, how would I talk to somebody? Like, how would I talk? How can I get somebody to talk about it? What's my approach? What should be my approach?
Good question. Very compelling story, Mr. Grant. First off, that mental health conversation is rough because we sometimes have to channel ourselves to not to be ourselves.
Okay.
We sometimes as men, and this is a conversation as men have to have with ourselves, we got to get the bravado out. The gorilla.
That macho,
You gotta let that go.
That pride.
Let that go.
Right. And
That pride.
the key is it's gentle. You want to start with an expression of care.
Okay.
Followed by an observation. I care about you, and I've noticed you haven't been yourself lately.
Right.
You want to talk about it? You just don't seem like yourself.
Right.
I'm concerned about you.
Right.
We want to remember, you want to normalize mental health by talking about it directly. If you avoid it, that's when they're going to avoid it.
Right.
That's when they tend to isolate themselves. Stay in the room. You don't see them much.
Right.
They tend to don't talk as much. Eating habits are to the bare minimum.
Would you say this would even apply to barbers looking out for fellow barbers or your coworkers?
Yeah.
It would be the same thing, right? Can
Totally
the
agree.
same apply?
Yes, totally agree. Just because we are barbers and we seem like we can take on the world, as Mr. Grant was saying, Grant was saying earlier, which, you know, that's just a facade. We go through life. Sometimes life challenges us different.
Yeah.
With us being a different person and a different version of a barber, we're still a person. So we want to acknowledge that and also have that conversation sometimes.
Yes.
The best thing is to make something uncomfortable comfortable. So of course this is uncomfortable in the beginning. Who wants
Right.
to talk about mental illness and someone going off and feeling like they have suicidal thoughts?
But like you said, you got to let the person know that you care. Like, that's why I'm coming at you like this, because I really care and I love you. You know, just let the person know that you love them, and, you know, and hopefully they trust you enough to open up to you, you know, about that. You know, I think that if you do let them know that you care and that you love them, they'll be really open to talking about it if it affects them.
Right. So we got to take one more break, you know, because we got to get this bread. So we got to take one more for the sponsors. You know what I'm saying? But,
Get this bread, man.
but we're gonna wrap this thing up in 1 second. We just got to go to another break. We're gonna wrap things up, and y'all stay
from
tight.
there.
Don't go nowhere.